And a good Saturday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Saturday night, the 21st day of June, 2025. Grateful to have everybody. We normally don't come on a Saturday night, but I'm sure most of you have heard within the last probably last half hour, United States bombers, B-52 bombers, have struck the Iranian Fordo nuke site, 6 Buster bombs, and we're going to be on here. I'm going to ask you to please, in kindness, hold your comments and questions right now. We're going to interact with you, but we've got Eric Karen on the line. We've got James Akers coming up behind him tonight, and we may have some other guests, depending on if they can answer the call tonight. Buddy, it's so good to see you back on. We sort of had a gut feeling. Eric Karen on the phone with us. I had a gut feeling this was coming this weekend. I know he said 2 weeks yesterday, and I watched a news reporter interview a Israeli intelligence official, a former one, and he made the comment. He said, "I really believe Trump is faking them out. That don't look for something this weekend because Trump says I'm giving you 2 weeks. Don't believe it. Trump wasn't going to give the Iranians 2 weeks to keep building bombs, Eric." And it's proven. Tell us what you know about this, buddy. Tell us what you know.
Well, you and I spoke on, I think it was Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
I'm losing track of days.
Well, we spoke Monday night and Thursday night. We had you on here Monday night, and we had you on the radio Thursday.
Right. And I think my guesstimate was within 48 hours, and I think I was spot on in that the president, based on what I know and listening to him and others, I was fairly confident he was going to go. And, of course, he did tonight. But this is, as you know, Chris, and many of your listeners know, this has been 40 years in the making. This decision, no other president in our lifetime wanted to take the offensive measures that, quite frankly, was required, not just for America, but for global security. Iran has been a tyrannical government for all these decades and threatening the world. And when I say the world, I mean neighboring countries such as Saudi Arabia, such as the United Arab Emirates, where I served for 3 years as a U.S. diplomat, Qatar, Iraq, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have the blood of thousands of Americans, as well as the citizens of other countries, on its hands. This president, Donald J. Trump, is the only president who has taken the decisive measures to counter their WMD program, to put it to bed, to stop the bully from threatening the world, including Israel, of course, who they vowed to destroy, and now, quite frankly, if we were successful this evening, taking out their WMD program, what is next? And I think what's next is somewhat determined by the Iranian leadership that's currently in place. We don't know if Khomeini is still alive or not. Let's just say he is.
That's true.
Let's say he is. Now, is he willing to come to his senses and negotiate with Washington? And my guess is, to be honest with you, Chris, if I was a betting man, my guess is he will not negotiate with Washington.
Well, what does he got to negotiate with now, brother? It's like if Trump used 6 Buster bombs, there probably ain't much he's got left to negotiate with. But keep going. Go ahead.
Well, brother, here's the issue, though. is that he still has in reserve,
That's true.
tens of thousands of missiles. He still has, let's just say, 800,000 to a million Army military personnel active and reservists in country. So it really, tonight, I'm hoping and praying that the people of Iran rise up, including mid-level, senior-level officials within the government, and takes control of the government. Because I don't, in my heart and mind, I don't believe Khomeini and the folks at the very top will give up power, because they love the power, and they're radical Shia Muslims, and so they don't mind killing themselves and tens of thousands of Iranians, and so that. In my opinion, I'm hoping that the Iranian people rise up, like they did in 2009, as I've told you before, and you witnessed it.
Yes.
Under Barack Obama, and Barack Obama did nothing to help the Iranian people. I served in the United Arab Emirates at the time during that rise up, and thousands were slaughtered because the U.S. government failed to come to the aid and support the green movement, as they're called, in 2009. I pray that the green movement is still active, and our CIA and other nations are working closely with the people of Iran to take back its country. Because that, I think, in my heart, that's what's required to change Iran. It's not going to take, I don't think, just buster bombs alone to take back, to have Iran come to the table. I could be wrong, but knowing the mullahs, and as you know, the radical Muslims, the Shia Muslims, I don't think they're going to turn over so easily and just come up and show up at Washington in the next 48 hours. Do you?
Right, I don't either, buddy. No, not a bit. But my biggest question, and I think the question that is probably chiming in everybody's mind, and I guess neither I nor you know this, and I think you've already alluded to this, depending on what Iran does next, I think is how this either escalates or this dies down. I'm already hearing, I'm hearing earthquakes coming out of Congress tonight. The feckless Republicans and Dems are screaming because they feel like Trump violated the clause that Congress has the only permission to declare war. There's no war declared, but Trump saw a national security threat, Eric, and he's got the right to go after this and do this on his own. This is not Congress's call. And my God, the way we've got a bunch of feckless leaders in Washington, D.C., they'd have sat there and let these people get the bomb and then complained about Trump letting them get the bomb. I'm sick of this political stuff. This was a national security threat. It should have been dealt with a long time ago. And I'm sick of these Monday morning quarterbacks complaining about Trump, when if they would have had some leadership in D.C., this would have never gotten to this place. We've let this crap 100%. Go on for 46 blanking years. And he finally did something. We finally had a president with the gumption and the moral courage to do it. And we should be happy tonight. Now, am I concerned about retaliation? I think everybody is. I'm looking at the news headlines tonight. I was listening just for a few minutes before we came on, and that's what the topic of all the conversation is tonight, is retaliation. I want you to ask you a question, because you've been overseas and you know this probably better than most. Where is our greatest vulnerability? And is there a possibility, and I know we don't know this for sure, is there a possibility that the Iranians have a secret situation set up? Because that was one of the discussions I heard last night, that the concern is that there may have been a subterfuge or a subtle, not subtle, but a sort of a hidden nuke facility that nobody knew about, that the Iranians have kept hidden. Now, not that they can keep a lot of things hidden, but look, it's the Iranians. These people have dealt in subterfuge and deception for years. Are you concerned with that aspect of this? Are you more concerned about our bases in the Middle East? Where's your biggest concern? I guess the third prong of that is what I'm most concerned about are these proxies within our own nation tonight. And I do not doubt there are not sleeper cells already here. And I guess it's going to depend on whether they're being told to stand down or trigger.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, Chris. So we have multiple threats, like as you just laid out. We've had an open border for 4+ years, and we know they're agents of the Iranian government here in the U.S. My guesstimate, Chris, based on the work that I've done in the past and what I know even today, there's probably several thousand agents of the Iranian government here in the U.S. And what do I mean by agents? I mean sympathizers. I mean businessmen looking to acquire WMD materials for exportation back to Iran. And I also mean Iranian covert agents working for the Revolutionary Guard or their intelligence agencies. So that's kind of like 3 different, if you will, batches of threats here in the U.S. We have sympathizers, we have businessmen looking to make money who are either Iranians or other third nation nationals, if you will, looking to steal U.S. technology for their WMD programs back in Iran, where they're making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then we have agents, big agents of the Iranian government. Does that make sense to you?
Total sense. No, total sense. And I think that that I think is our biggest concern tonight. My question to you too, as a follow-up to that, is how confident are you that the Iranians have the heart to carry this on? Because look, they're not dealing with Israel now. They're dealing with the red, white, and blue, and they're not dealing with Joe Biden now, and they're not dealing with Barack Obama now. They're not even dealing with Bill Clinton. They're not even dealing with George W. Bush Jr. They're dealing with Donald John Trump, brother. And I'm going to tell you something. They do not want. Let me read you this statement. This is a statement by him just 11 seconds ago. Probably, I say it's 11 seconds, probably a bit longer, maybe about an hour ago. He says, "We've completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs," I understand there were 6, "was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." You just got to love Trump when he says, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." I don't think he's talking to the Israelis. I think he's talking to the Iranians, brother. That's just my opinion. I mean, you have to laugh a little bit at that statement.
Brother, as you know, over the last 7 days or more, he's been playing fast and loose with this particular issue of whether or not he was going to go or not go. He's been, and he's been coy, and he's played it well, I believe. But you're right that the Iranians will retaliate. Okay, there's no doubt about it. They will retaliate somehow.
Who's in greater danger, Eric? Israel or us?
Well, they're going to retaliate and try to hit bases in the Middle East, without a doubt.
Okay.
Qatar, Kuwait, in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're going to try to hit our bases because it's the closest threat. I mean, it makes sense, right? Via drones, missile drones, IEDs, whatever. They want to make a statement that, basically, you might have, gave us a sucker punch, but we're still standing up and we're still going to fight you. There's no doubt about it. I think they're going to try, because that's the closest. But they also have agents, like I just described, here in the U.S. But I do believe as soon as, within hours, as soon as the Iranians retaliate, and this president will not allow them to harm any Americans, and he will. This is kind of like a little jab, I think.
That's so true. I agree, man. I know where you're going with this. Go ahead. So
this is, in my opinion, this is a kind of jab, and that right hook will come. That right hook's going to come if you test me.
Yeah.
And so there's no doubt in my mind, Donald Trump will throw the right hook and take out Khomeini and anybody else he feels is a threat to the U.S. This is just a little wake-up call.
All right.
Tonight.
And I get that. Do you believe that the Iranians have the heart to wage an all-out war against America, though? Do you think that all their talk is bluster? Do you think these people are for real? I've been told. I've read so many. I've read so many different military opinions about this over the last 48 hours, and there are some people that believe that with Israel's efforts since October the 7th, the proxies with Hezbollah and Hamas have been decimated. Look, even the what the Mossad did just this week, Eric, in taking out 20 of Iranian top generals and scientists, and they eliminated another guy today that was evidently behind the October the 7th. That he was behind a lot of the October 7th proxy planning, and had the blood of thousands of Iranian protesters and Americans on his hands. Naid, I think was his name. He got eliminated. Israel's not playing around. But you still shake your head at these Iranians because they have got an apocalyptic doomsday theology, man. And I think that they're almost like the point. If they're going to go down, they're going to go down in a blaze of glory. And that does not bode well for the world. It doesn't bode well for America because, look, you can't expect them not to retaliate. But I guess it's going to be how they retaliate is whether this erupts into a world conflict or something more than just a pinprick bomb strike tonight. Because you're right, tonight was just the jab. Trump's got a right hook, and I don't think he's going to be he's scared to use the right hook. If they come out swinging, we're going to be swinging too, and it does not bode well for the Middle East, brother. It don't bode well for America, nor the world at large if that starts happening.
Correct, and that's why, what you just said. We're talking the radical extremists within Iran. This is, they have no problem dying.
They don't. They don't.
So we're talking millions, okay, Chris? And that's the problem where we need this to come within now. My hope, honestly, is that I only hope that our CIA for the last X amount of years, unfortunately under Biden, God only knows what the hell they did as far as recruitment of agents, if you will, within Iran, and people that we, the U.S. government, have on the sideline ready to go to take over their regime. I don't know the answer to that. I hope we have the green movement in place ready to go, because that's really, honestly, is going to be what's required if we are to take, if you will, the Iranian, the Israelis, the U.S., the good guys, want to change Iran. We need that change to come within.
That's so well said, Eric. That is so well. That's a great point. That's an excellent point, brother.
Because we're not going to win this. I mean, we don't want, and he's going to say it, we don't want to put troops on the ground in Iran. So we don't want to put troops on the ground, and we're going to try to do this just like Israel. As far as I know, Israel's got covert agents on the ground, either Israeli Mossad or informants, if you will, on the ground in Iran, working with them. But we don't want to invade Iran because we're going to need. tens of thousands of U.S. soldiers. We're going to need the Iranian people to rise up, the good people, and take back their nation. That's where the change is going to come.
Do you think that happens?
I don't know. I think it all depends, real truthfully. It depends what the CIA is doing behind the scenes right now.
Right.
Like tonight, Chris, as you and I are speaking right now, what plan is the CIA, along with other nations like the Pakistanis, because as you know, Trump met with the Pakistani general in the White House.
That's right.
I believe it was Friday. What are they doing on the ground tonight to get the people, the tens of thousands of good Iranian people, to overthrow that nation now?
It's a great point, buddy. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That is such a great point. Well, listen, I know that it's a Saturday night, and I wanted to get you on. I could keep you forever. Yeah. Listen, look, hang loose next week, because we may get you back on Monday night, even Tuesday, to update us to what happens, because this is a developing situation.
Yeah,
and
definitely
I think it's all hands on deck right now. And I want to thank you for coming on tonight. And I'll be, look, we may have to call you back depending on what happens between now and the morning. I may call you up if your phone goes off at 3 o'clock in the morning. Be like Hillary Clinton and say, I'll answer that phone call at 3 o'clock and get on the McFiles with McDonald at 3 a.m. in the morning, man. But
yeah, sure.
God bless you.
We know, brother. We know one guy who will be up all night, and that's Donald J. Trump.
Donald John Trump and the God above, but he sure will.
He'll be monitoring the situation, and rest assured, the American people can rest assured and rest well tonight that this president will do the best he can for the American people, and that the Iranian people need, we can only pray that the Iranian people rise up and take back their nation, but this president won't allow a single American to be slaughtered under his watch, and he will unleash that right hook if need be on the Iranian government.
Without a doubt, buddy. Without a doubt. Listen, God bless you, and I'll be in touch with you.
God bless.
Appreciate you coming on Saturday night.
You got it, buddy.
Bless you, buddy. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Eric here and everybody, I want you to put some fire in that house farm. Listen, we're going to get James Akers on. I do want to show you a couple of developing videos we just saw on X. This is the explosion that took place earlier tonight. From what we can tell, this is what it looked like when the bombs hit the Fordow chemical plant. That is in Iran right there. That is the result of 6 bunker bombs in hitting that, and we'll play that again. It looks almost like a mushroom cloud on it. That is what happened tonight in Iran. And as I said, President Trump had a lot to say about this. Here's Sean Hannity. I'm going to let you listen to this. This was just a few minutes ago. He was going on as we were going on. Here's Sean Hannity when he said he spoke to the president earlier tonight. This is what he said.
Fox News alert. I just spoke to the President of the United States. I have some new information and breaking details to share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordow nuclear facility with 6 huge bunker buster bombs. It was originally speculated that you would only need 2. It turns out they used 5 to 6 dropped from America's stealth B-2 bombers. And that's not all. 2 other major Iranian nuclear sites, Natanz and Esfahan, were wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines some 400 miles away. Everyone is out of harm's way for now. That does not mean that American assets in the region are not at risk, and we are monitoring the Iranian response or potential response all throughout the night.
And that is Sean Hannity, and we are monitoring it as well. I know President Trump is coming on at 10. We were aware of that. Let's see. This is James. James Akers, how are you, buddy?
I am fine.
Good.
I am fine. How are you doing?
Are there no Iranians in your neighborhood, right? I'm just wanting to make sure that you're safe and sound, brother.
We're safe and sound here I believe.
I believe. Okay. Well, listen, man. It's so good. I know you're. I hate to bring you in on a Saturday night because I know Saturday. We don't air on Saturday night ourselves. It's family time, and but it was such a developing situation tonight. Really didn't have any choice, and I'm so grateful that you can join us. I'm going to keep you on for a little while, and I may just pick you up
Okay.
after President Trump's speech too. But tell us what your thoughts are. I think we both saw this coming. I don't think there's anybody with any kind of realistic view of the Middle East that believed America was going to stay out of this. I don't think we could have. I think that Iran was leaving us with no choice, James, to do what we did tonight.
Well, that's my view. I know there's going to be a very, very vocal opposing view, and they're already talking about trying to saddle Trump with a War Powers Act and even impeachment and all of this stuff that but from my perspective, Iran was the leading funder of terrorist activities around the world. And if they had gotten a hold of nuclear weapons, the whole world would have been threatened. And
Right.
so, in my view, Trump, and I know I've listened to like Mark Levine and a couple others tonight, I think he did a favor to the entire world, because none of our previous presidents and none of these other world leaders
Had the courage to do it, James.
had the courage to do it.
Right.
And they're applauding tonight in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the Gulf states, because somebody had the cojones to make the decision to do it. And instead of talking about it and mealy mouthing around, he did it.
He did it.
I mean,
Well, and I've been here tonight.
wait.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it ticked me off already. This Thomas Massey, this absolute ungrateful Republican in Kentucky that I don't even know why he's got an R beside his name. He's out there claiming Trump, should have gone to Congress with this. James, he didn't declare war tonight. This was a pinprick strike against a threat to national security. President Trump has the right to do that under the Constitution. I got news for these jackanate Republicans and Democrats who think that he's got to go bow down to them to do this. He don't. Now, if we were going to go into an official declaration of war against Iran, that's different. But this is not what this is tonight. I would argue they've declared war on us, James, already. They've been declaring war on us for 46 years, man. This is not something new tonight, and I'm so glad you said it. I think the Middle East is taking a collective sigh of relief that they are no longer under the jackbooted blackmail of the Iranian government and this Shiite extreme Muslim faction of Islam that has soaked this earth in blood for nearly a half century, probably longer. But they have definitely caused the great unrest of the Middle East. And not all of it is this, but a lot of it is this. And thank God, think about the ramifications we'd be in tonight if Kamala Harris was the one sitting behind that desk at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I shudder to think what we'd be doing tonight.
Yeah, we would be looking, my opinion, there'll be several that will argue with me, and they may have a good argument, I don't know. But in my opinion, Iran would be a nuclear state right now if Kamala Harris was president.
Without a doubt.
And then we would have been. They would have had us in Kentucky language. They would have had us by the short hairs, and we couldn't have done a thing about them. That's the legacy of Bill Clinton and North Korea. What Trump did tonight, Bill Clinton could not do
with North Korea.
And now we have a nuclear-armed North Korea that is a problem child to everyone in Asia, and so
well said. Well said. Absolutely.
And so I thought he did a good thing tonight. I know there are a ton of people that disagree with me,
I don't.
And
I don't.
and if from an intelligence perspective, if Donald Trump had gathered together several key congressional leaders and discussed this, it would have been on the front page of the newspaper before these planes could take off.
No, that's exactly right. And that's the thing about this. This is the thing that just blows me away. That why would we want to tell our enemies? Why is this media and Congress think that it's smart for him to go to a public forum? Because you know what would happen if he did that? They would leak it to every newspaper, and our enemies would sit there with their arms folded and say, "Hey guys, he's going to do it." I think the thing that he did yesterday was brilliant. Tell the Iranians you got 2 weeks, knowing good and well they didn't even have 2 days, brother. He was gonna bomb the you know what out of that nuke site, and I think he had already determined to do it yesterday. I saw his body language, and I even mentioned it on the show last night before I signed off. I said, do not be surprised if something happens over this weekend. I said things tend to happen over the weekend when the press is the least busy in this country. And I think that he did it because they would have given everything away. And these feckless Republicans, they don't care enough about anything but grandstanding and anything but getting in front of a mic to make themselves relevant instead of the national security of the United States of America. What Trump did tonight made America safer, not more dangerous, but safer. Because now I think that he's got the Iranians' attention, that he means business. That if you don't come to this table and talk with us, you're not going to be around. You know? I mean, that's what Trump is basically signaling. I heard your previous guest, Eric Karen, tonight. He said that this was the jab in a boxing match. He said Trump ain't even giving him the right hook yet. Trump ain't even giving him the right hook.
Yeah. No, he's holding back the big thumper, you know, in case they go crazy and do some things in the Middle East. My personal view is the Middle East is much safer tonight,
without a doubt.
And all these Sunni Muslims that hid behind their skirts and under the tents, and you know, and sort of secretly wished Trump would take the very kind of action that they couldn't take. You know, those people are safer tonight because Trump took the heat and made the decision.
He did, but he absolutely did. And let me ask you this. I know that there's a lot of concern tonight, and I think rightfully so. There's, you know, Eric and I just talked about this before you came on. 3 main areas of threat would be our military bases across the Middle East, and maybe even perhaps even in Asia and Europe, but definitely the Middle East, but also these sleeper cells that are roaming wild tonight. We don't know what's come across this border in 4 years. But if James Akers was counseling President Trump and saying this is where you need to be the most concerned about, what's your biggest concern where Iran possibly might retaliate? Or is it all 3? Is it not just one? Maybe they're going to do all 3, but where would you be the most concerned about looking for where they would come back and try to retaliate against America?
Well, I think there are 3 concerns. The first one would be that a lot of their launchers have been taken out, but that they would use every launcher and launch every ballistic missile they have in their inventory towards Israel.
That's Israel's the key, exactly.
And so that's one area of concern. The other area of concern is that they unleash all the proxies to hit. There are 40,000 American military personnel in the Middle East, and that they would unleash the proxies to attack those forces, and that's sort of the hammer that Trump is threatening to bring down if they do that. And then we have no idea, and I don't think the intelligence community has any idea, because we had an open border that people came across and we had no clue what they were doing or where they went. We have no idea of how many sleeper cells there could be, whether they would respond to any sort of directive now from Tehran to act. You know, that whole area there, the sleeper cells area, you know, I'm not talking about lone wolf actors. I think we're going to see some of that. But I'm talking about coordinated sleeper cell activity. We absolutely have no idea.
That's true.
No idea whether they could be effectively marshaled to strike at various targets in the United States, or like I said before, that they would even now, you know, enjoying the comforts of the American lifestyle, would even respond. So that to me is a huge question mark. And this whole thing of taking, you know, 6, you know, bunker busters and just absolutely leveling Fort Dow. It's like, you know, one of the options that had to come to Trump is, you know, if we're going to do this thing, we need to do it right. And he said, I agree with you. And so, you know, and
well,
there was deception with that, Chris.
Exactly. Well, you know,
on TV tonight.
Absolutely. But in the story that's, I'm looking at the theme right now on X a little bit. I'm trying to monitor this. I know President Trump's here to speak in a minute. And if people want to go listen, they can. We're going to play, we got a clip from Benjamin Netanyahu coming up here, and we're going to stay on the air for a little bit. But I do want to say this, that the big other thing was what we've already talked about. People are applauding Pete Hegseth tonight because there were no leaks, James. Nobody knew this was coming tonight. Nobody. We had suspicions. I mean, I think people were thinking it was going to be 2 weeks, but there was no leaks of this attack happening tonight before it took place. Those planes were already out of Iranian airspace before anybody knew about it. That takes a man of character at the DOD and the Department of Defense to make sure that you got people rowing your boat and not basically sinking your boat. And that's the difference in the leadership between Joe Biden, Lloyd Johnson, and Donald John Trump and Pete Hegseth tonight. It's refreshing. Yeah. It's refreshing.
It is. And two, you can see it came later, the reports of the 30 Tomahawks from the submarines that hit a couple of these other sites. You know, it wasn't only an Air Force operation, it was also a Navy operation, and you can see the wisdom of the Trump administration sort of spreading the credit around. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably, you know, that shows a bit of agility on Trump and Hegseth and the whole administration's part. That they were able to keep this thing under wraps. And one reason they could do that is because they didn't call in all of these weak-kneed congressional types and brief them in advance of the operation. It would have never taken place.
No, that is right. That is absolutely right. Hey, I did give you something to laugh about last night. You wasn't here, but I told the people last night, I said, I don't know what's going to happen over the weekend, but there's one thing that Chris is 1,000,000% sure of, and that's the Iranians will not be communicating with cell phones and pagers before this happens. And I'm reading a comment of Cleo in Facebook tonight, or YouTube tonight. She's basically saying this is sort of eerie because she said that assets were set up 2 weeks ago on standby, evidently, surgical strikes in and out, very Trumpian, not to listen to all the noise and do what's right. And Jason says the leakers were showing out the door at the Pentagon. But James, that's what the Ukrainians did, and the Israelis did too. The Israelis had assets already on the ground when this stuff started. This was not done by happenstance. And that too is the difference between Trump and past presidents. he did not go into this without deep thought. This was thought out, and I know that people may think it's not, but I'm telling you, I have a feeling that he had decided on this probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I do, and I think that just yesterday I could just tell his body language. I mean, you got to love Trump. I mean, even his statement tonight, where he finishes the statement up, he says, "There's not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." I mean, what president do we have that tells our enemies, "Thank you for your attention. We just bombed the you-know-what out of your nuclear facility. It might be a good idea that you pay attention to what just happened to you, because worse is coming if you don't pay attention."
Yeah, I mean, what I admire about the guy, and there's a lot not to admire.
Absolutely.
But what I admire about the guy is that in these types of decisions, he's willing to take the heat.
Yes.
He is going to get so much crap from inside the Beltway. Well, here he comes on now.
Yeah.
So I'll let you listen to him, and then.
Well, I tell you what, I may call you back here. I may call you back in about a few minutes. We're going to stay on the air, and I'm seeing if I can get a live feed in, because they cut us down. And let me just say this. I want you to listen to this. You're talking about this. I want you to listen to this. CNN guest and retired General Mark Kimmett says, "Well, I'm fascinated and candidly, I'm impressed. I never really could understand what the 2-week pause meant or what it was for, what was left to negotiate, what we were going to expect the Iranian to offer. I think the use of deception and trickery in this case, first of all, was successful, but second of all, saved the potential loss of American lives." CNN's beginning to make sense, James. Me and you need to go. We need to go get us a hot dog at Cincinnati, man, and have a few on that one. Because goodness gracious, if CNN's making sense tonight, we're screwed. That's all I got to say, man. We're in a mess. If the CNN is making sense to us tonight, we're in a messed up world, Acres. That's all I got to say. Hang loose on the phone, buddy. I'm gonna take a break here for a minute and hang loose, okay? And we'll call you back, okay? Give me about 10 minutes. All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Sounds good.
James Acres, everybody. We're gonna get him back on. I'm trying to find a live feed. Last time we did this, they yanked our channel down. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to get an audio feed off of X, and I'll just let you listen to the audio. But this is Benjamin Netanyahu tonight, just minutes ago. Roll the tape.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities,
spectacular general,
America
and all
has
of the
been
brilliant military minds involved in this attack.
Here's President Trump, folks.
That being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that was President Trump just now. I'm going to get James Acres back on the line here. That was very short. I was expecting it to be a little longer, so I probably could have kept James on the line. But we'll do this again. And folks, we were very aware Trump was talking. We were coming up on the break. Let me see if James can get back on here, because I want to see. Hey, buddy. He just finished, so I should have probably just kept you on the line. But his statement was short, and sweet. And he was a true president, man. He basically told Iran what he said tonight. He said, it's up to you now. He said, there's more targets. He said, we can do this. We can give you more of this or less. It depends on you, don't it?
Yes, yes. No, and that's the right message to send, because the Shiite mindset, especially in the last several years, has been to bluster and bluff, and especially Tehran to use their proxy allies to do all their dirty work. But now those allies have been stripped away from them, and their capabilities drastically diminished. And so Iran is going to have to put up or shut up right now. And if we think the heat is on Trump, the heat is really on the Ayatollah, because now the ace up his sleeve, a nuclear force which made them capable of blackmailing anybody in the region and around the world, has been taken away from him. And he has a restive population. And there are a lot of people that are starting to ask questions. And a lot of the loyalists have been eradicated by the Israelis. And so the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime have some difficult decisions to make tonight. And as we talked about the other day, all of these red lines and all of this dance that has taken place in the Middle East over hundreds of years, they sort of intuitively know where red lines are, and when they have to, and when the time comes to fold them, and we'll see tonight how they respond.
What's your gut? What is your? I know we will, but what is your gut that you think they're going to do? I was asking Eric this, and I've heard a lot of military people talk over the last 48 to 72 hours, James, and there's a mixture. There's some that believe that, Eric made a good point. They've still got tens of thousands of missiles, maybe hundreds, who knows, but there could be some secret subterfuge things that we don't know they've got they could use. But there's also other military people that have basically said that since October the 7th, Israel has taken out a great number of their proxies. There's even a breaking news story out of Israel tonight that Saudi media is reporting that the IDF has reportedly struck the entire Houthi leadership during a meeting they were holding in a bunker. And see, I think that they have already begun to take into consideration that where their retaliation is coming from. So they just didn't target the nukes tonight. They're looking at any area, any angle that Iran can use. And I'm not so sure these mullahs have the heart to go war to war with America now. I think this is a game changer tonight. And I'm not so sure they got the heart to do it, other than the apocalyptic, let's just kill everybody and ourselves mentality. Other than that, I mean, I don't know what they're hanging on to at this point. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I wouldn't rule out the latter. There's a religious fatalism, especially among the Shiite Muslims, for those who have studied that faith, and so that can't be ruled out. My guess, if I had to wager, would be that right now they're calculating what's the minimum amount they can do to save face without inviting a massive American retaliation. I think that's the decisional calculus that's going on right now in underground bunkers in Tehran among the regime leadership, and so that's my best guess, Chris, is that they will respond, but they will not overly respond. It'll be more of a face-saving gesture then it will be a a cataclysmic last minute throw everything to the wind sort of response.
Are you concerned any other nations get involved in this?
Well, as I think I sent you a note. There's been really a curious a stream of aircraft, that the Chinese aircraft
Yes.
that have been secretly flying into Iran. I have no idea what the purpose of that is, or what the direction of that is. The problem is that the traditional friends of Iran all have their own plates full of problems.
They do. They do.
Russia does to the nth degree, and if you scratch 3 or 4 layers deep, China has its problems too, and there are recent reports of like friction between Xi and the military leadership.
I've heard that.
So what you have is that, and of course the absolute trump card that Iran had in years past was Hezbollah. A massively armed Shiite group that on Israel's northern border. That group has been decimated. The leadership has been wiped out. And they even sent a message that when Israel started its bombing campaign in Iran, that they were not going to get involved. Sort of because Iran didn't get involved when Israel was destroying them. If you read between the lines,
yeah.
That's what they were saying. And so I believe Iran's position at the table in terms of leverage has been drastically reduced by developments elsewhere among what in years past it could depend on as traditional allies.
Do you think they have the heart, though? I mean, I'll ask that question again to you. Do you personally think they've got the heart to fight this, other than just these pinprick? And this, let me rephrase this question. Their attacks on Israel, James, has been despicable. They hit a daycare yesterday. They hit a hospital 3 nights ago. Every single Iranian missile that has flown into Tel Aviv and Israel have been targeted at civilian areas, not military targets. They're not even trying. They're not even hiding it. They're just literally trying to kill the Israeli people. Israel has not done any of that. They have done this strike tonight was not on Tehran. This was on that Fordo nuclear plant. Boom, 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 boom. We're out. But their missiles have been targeting civilians. My question to you is this. If that continues, and you're Israel, is it not justifiable that they retaliate in such a manner? I know the world's going to scream. They're already screaming tonight, claiming that that's happening, which it's not. But Israel cannot keep letting Iran destroy its civilian population. Bibi Netanyahu has a moral obligation to protect his people, just like Donald Trump does. All leaders do. Correct?
Yeah, but there are certain fundamentals to waging a successful air campaign, and lessons learned from World War II is that the Germans quit focusing on military targets and on air defense related targets, military airfields, and went after civilian populations. That's a mistake. It would be a mistake for Israel too.
Okay.
They need to, my opinion, this is James Akers sitting in Ohio, pontificating here. But in my opinion, the Israeli IDF has its target list to absolutely neutralize the IRGC, which is what they need to do. They need to resist the temptation to go into Tehran and just bomb the dickens out of Tehran because Tel Aviv gets hit by a couple missiles.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I see your point, and I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree. Well, buddy, listen, I appreciate you. I know it's Saturday night. I'm going to let you get back to your family. Listen, hang loose first of the week. And look, depending on what happens, we may be calling you tomorrow night. I mean, we don't know. I mean, the way this thing is going, it's, you know, I guess it's a 24-hour a day now. We monitor things daily, and who knows where we'll be in the morning when we wake up. You know, we'll find. We're about to find out in the next probably 9 hours how Iran's going to do this, because it's about to be daylight over there now. It's about 5 in the morning, and the sun is about to come up. So I think we're about to find out very shortly what's about to happen, one way or the other. But I appreciate you so much tonight, man.
If there's another foot that's going to fall, you know, that ratchets this whole thing up to a different dimension.
Without a doubt, buddy.
So I'll be standing by. We live in interesting times. You know, the best position to be is 100% in the Savior's arms.
Absolutely,
you know, in
buddy.
trying times like this.
So well said. Well, I tell you how interesting times they are. How interesting times they are. The Cincinnati Reds are above 500 in mid-June baseball season, man. Hold the presses, huh? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and they just barely got eked out tonight in a game. But they're playing good ball. I tell you, the manager they hired, I think he's a good baseball mind, and you know, if they would just get a few more tools, I think they could be super competitive.
That's all they need, buddy. Well, listen, I'm going to talk to these folks a little bit more longer and then wrap it up tonight. Thank you for being with me, man, on this special McFiles Saturday night coverage of this developing story, and I'll be in touch with you. You know I will. God bless you, friend.
God bless you, Chris. Always a pleasure.
Always
Bye.
a pleasure, too, buddy. James Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. What a good guy. And I tell you what, there is, let's see here. I'm just trying to look at some of these things. All right, this is breaking. This is from the Mossad commentary on X. The U.S. is evacuating additional staff from its diplomatic mission. I'm reading this off of X. In Iraq. Iran will probably attack during or after Trump's speech. Lockdown orders have been issued at multiple U.S. air bases in the Middle East tonight: Syria, Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait, and to some extent Saudi Arabia. So they are definitely trying to figure out their what's going on. Kevin Gallagher says, he sent me this message. I was on Kevin's show, and I need to get Kevin on mine. He said, with the USA bombing Iran, now we know why Trump did all the deporting of the illegals to get these Iranian sleeper cells out. That is true, but I'm not sure if he got them all out. That is without a doubt. Folks, we are monitoring this thing. And look, I can't stay on all night tonight. We will be on in the morning, Sunday morning meeting time. We were originally not planning to, but we will be here tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. It is probably likely we're going to be preaching tomorrow morning on Ezekiel 38 and 39. I've been trying to think all day, Lord, what do you want me to speak on? And that may change, but one of the services we're going to address Persia in the Bible, the role of Iran in Bible prophecy. You don't want to miss this tomorrow, and we'll definitely be doing it on the Bible studies next week. We are monitoring situations now. I've promised you all night to get your opinion, and it says, let's see what we've got. Cincinnati, Silver Creek. You're in Cincinnati. I used to be in Dayton. Good to see you tonight. We'd like to talk to you. If you built those fuses, they said up here earlier that they were working on building those bunker buster bombs in 2005. They made the bomb fuses. Trump means business, and I'd love to talk to you and get you on the show. So email me at McFiles Forum, and I'll reach out to you, and we'll try to get you on maybe first of the week, because this is a developing situation. I'd like to talk to you about that. We've been looking for a military person anyway, and I know you're not military, but building bomb fuses is close enough. It's close enough. It's good to see you too. Thank you for being with us tonight. If you got a question, our poll right now is at 94-6. Was tonight's attack on Iran's nuke sites justified? Now, usually we have some knuckleheads that come in here and they just vote no just to be knuckleheads. And I don't know if that's part of this. But if you're out there tonight and you don't think this was a good idea, I'm opening the chat up, and you can say your piece. Chime in. Tell us what you think. We're going to go about another 10 minutes. We've been going right at an hour. And, you know, we're not going to stay here all night. I can't stay here all night anyway. But I'm going to give you your chance now to chime in, talk about things, and see Trump's speech at the end. He says, I just want to say we love you, God. And I heard that. I did. And it's, folks, that's the difference between this president and the one before him. Look, my personal take on this tonight, folks. Number one, we're justifying what we did tonight. I'm all on the Trump train. I'm good. I'm good with everything Trump did tonight. I know it's troubling on many levels because we've had to do this. We were really forced to do this more than anything else. It wasn't like we wanted to do this. Trump offered every olive branch he could for 60 days. But I do know that he has been toiling over this for weeks on what to do. And I do not believe that what he said yesterday was by mistake. And even the guy on CNN, God help us, we're agreeing with CNN. But the guy made it the point tonight that by doing what he did yesterday, he saved American lives. And see, these jackanapes in Congress that expect Trump to go out there and announce to the world everything he's doing, they are not qualified to be senators and representatives of us. They're not protecting the United States of America. They're more concerned about getting their little soundbite on MSNBC and all these crap networks than they are protecting you. Please remember that next November when you go to those polls and the primaries for these feckless Republicans and these feckless Democrats. Please remember this. Trump don't have to tell them everything he's doing. Congress don't run the show. He's the president of the United States of America. And he has powers under the Constitution that he exercised tonight. He did not declare war on Iran. And they declared war on us long ago. Stephen, you asked a question. You said, do you think it is likely Iranian sleeper cells? Stephen, there's no way to know. There's no way to know that. There's no way to know that. Do I think they're going to do it? They could do it, but nobody knows for sure what they're going to do. I think you just heard James and Eric lay out the case. I think I'm more concerned about Israel tonight. I think if I'm the Israeli people and I'm Benjamin Netanyahu, I am extremely concerned about the retaliation because if you remember 1991 when we invaded Kuwait, Saddam Hussein sent Scud missiles into Jerusalem. Israel is always the one that bears the brunt of anything that goes on in the Middle East like this. They always bear the brunt, and they're going to bear the brunt, I think, in this. I pray for the safety and the peace of Jerusalem tonight as I leave this network, and I think that is where we need to be praying for safety. I'm very concerned about our boys, and it's evident that our government is concerned about it too. They're evacuating staff in Iraq. They're evacuating staff in Syria, Qatar, Kuwait, and to some extent Saudi Arabia. So they're expecting something. Look, I don't think anybody knows right now what the Iranians are going to do. They've not done nothing as of 10:25 in the east tonight, but it doesn't mean they're not going to do it. And it may take them a day or two to get their feet underneath them, and then who knows? I think it's just a wait and see. It's a wait and see. Gene says, over here on the other side of the mountains in Maggie Valley. Hey, Gene, welcome. Thank you, dear. Bless you. Maggie Valley is a beautiful, beautiful city. Yes, you're my neighbor, just on the other side. I'm on the west side, you're on the east side. Nice to see you tonight, friend. And thank you. Thanks for your kind words. I need all that I can get. I need all the prayers I can get too, Gene. Thank you for being with us tonight. Good to see you. All right, folks, I'm giving you a chance. You got a question? Rock on. Rock on. It's your turn. I promised you that I'd give you a chance to say what you got to say. Say what you got to say now. Let's see what we got over here on Facebook tonight. Lori, the questions about illegals tonight, I don't want to talk about that. We're talking about Iran. Please keep it. Please keep this on. I know your question's legitimate, Lori. I know that 99% came here, went on emergency housing. I know that, but I don't want to talk about that tonight. Please save that for another time. We'll talk about that next week. Dennis, your question about what response will be from Russia and China, it's unknown. It's unknown. It's absolutely unknown. It's unknown. Roger says, is Iran attacking civilians because Israel's military areas are too well protected? No. Roger, the Iron Dome has protected Israel fairly good, but there's still been some missiles that have gotten through. I don't think it's that. I think the Iranians have no concern for life. And I think their vendetta, look, Roger, I'll just use their own words. Death to America and death to Israel. They're not talking about death to Israel's military bases. They want to see every Jew on this planet gone. And they really want to see every American on this planet gone. So, where I agree with James. Israel does not need to just return that favor and start attacking civilians, because they will lose world support so quick you can't say world support. Even though technically they should. I would have no problem with it if they did, because of what Iran's doing. They're doing it deliberately. They know what they're doing. Look, when you target a daycare, and you target a hospital, you're not caring about military places. You're dealing with people. They know good and well who's in that daycare. They know good and well who's in that hospital. So the Iranians don't care, and that is the part of this, when you get down to it, that concerns me the most about the Iranians. They don't care if the whole thing goes up. They're willing to sacrifice the tens of millions of their people. And sorry, Tucker, I didn't Google the population of Iran tonight, so you can, whatever you think I am if I'm a country bumpkin, because I don't know the population of Iran like you did with Ted Cruz, which was a sorry sack of journalism I've ever seen in my life. A pathetic display of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. You and Candace need to get together and have Cokes. But anyway, let me just say it like this. They have an apocalyptic view of this earth, that they believe that the Mahdi is going to destroy the Jews. This figure, it's almost like the parallel figure of the Christian's Antichrist that the Bible talks about. Well, the Quran has a figure that supposedly is going to rise in the end of days and do the same thing to Israel, that the Muslim world will be under siege. He'll step in, he'll save the world, destroy all the Jews, they'll take over Jerusalem, and an Islamic caliphate will rule the earth for the rest of days. They believe that. They certainly don't believe in the second coming of Jesus Christ. But they will go out in smoke. They don't care. And to Roger's question about China and Russia, I think that's one reason that they're not all in on this right now, because they know this. And they don't have an apocalyptic view, because it's mutual destruction. It's mutual destruction. Iran don't care about mutual destruction. That's who we're dealing with tonight. That is my only troublesome feeling in my spirit. Now, please be with me in the morning, because we're going to talk about the future of Iran in the Bible. And I'll just say it like this. I've got a feeling that none of that's going to happen, because Iran is going to be around for a while. I want you to know that tonight. Iran's going to be around there for a while, so I would not be going to bed losing sleep over that, because Iran's got a role to play in the coming tribulation period that's ahead. And she's going to play a role in Bible prophecy, which is not taking place right now, folks. These things are prophetic, but they are not the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And I'm going to explain that to you in the morning why I say that. Because there's a lot of people out there screaming. This is Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I remind these people that don't read their Bibles that there are no other nations with Iran tonight, folks. It's just Iran. It's just Iran. And Ezekiel 38 and 39, you'll be with me in the morning. And tomorrow night, we will explain why that is important. So, you Bible students can say amen to that. In the morning that we've been talking about, we talked about this Friday. We even dealt with this Friday morning on the Bible study. But the Iranians do have an apocalyptic view. So they wouldn't care if they took out 10, 20 million people. It wouldn't bother them a bit. It wouldn't bother them a bit. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Redor, you says no comment except God did a mighty work through President Trump. Lori, the comment regarding illegals directed in identifying sleeper cells. Well, Lori, I understand that. The thing about it, though, there's no, that's sort of the big issue right now because we don't even know how many people are here. I think they're getting a handle on that. But the thing about it is, I don't think we know. And Tom Holman is good as said that last night. He was with, who was he with last night? McEnany? She was filling in for Sean. And it may have been Jesse, one of the Fox personalities last night, may have been Laura Ingraham, I don't know, but he basically said as such that there is a lot of unknown things about these illegals. They're working hard trying to get a handle on who's here and who's not. We don't know. We just don't know. And there's nothing you can do about it now. I mean, other than get them out, and hopefully we've gotten some of them out, but I wouldn't put money on the table that says we've gotten them all out. I understand your question. I'm not trying to take issue with you, but I'm just saying this goes beyond illegals tonight. It is part of the equation, but it is a deeper, I'm concerned far deeper about Iran itself and what it will do. Because it does want to draw the world into a conflict and let Israel and America be destroyed through it. That's their goal. Make no mistake about it. They have no love lost for America. They have no love lost for Israel. They've made it clear for 46 years now. And thank God, as James says, and Eric both said, we had a president that had the gumption and the kahunas to do something about it tonight. So, what I was going to say a while ago about this 6%, let me see what it is now. It was 94-6, now it's 93-7. If you're out there and you don't want to, you believe that Trump was not justified in doing it, please tell me. Please tell me what you don't think is necessary for that tonight. Let's see here. Susan says, if the attack on the Iran nuclear sites hasn't caused the U.S. to be at war, what more would cause us to be at war? Susan, we're not at war yet. I mean, there's no declaration of war. I mean, when I say Iran's been at war with us, they have been at war with us. They've killed thousands of our men. They've killed thousands of our soldiers. So they've killed a lot. And I think that they're wanting a war. Trump gave them an olive branch, even tonight. He's given them a shot tonight. He's giving them a shot even tonight. He's telling them, say, hey, look, we got more targets. You want more of this? We got this is just the cherry on the top. This ain't even the cake. You want more? We'll give you more. But I'd rather you have peace. His statement is right there. Now is the time for peace. Peace. He don't want war. Trump, this is not war tonight. This is not an act of war. The Iranians may think differently, but I don't see this as an act of war. This is an act of national security. This Fordo nuclear plant was very close to obtaining and being able to produce a nuclear bomb. And I heard one report last week that was able to produce 9. 9. We did the right thing tonight. We did the right thing tonight. But this is not war. We ain't seen war. Not on this conventional, not on the conventional means. Yes, we've talked about he did, thank God. He did, thank God. Jason Miller says the bombing in Hiroshima ended the Second World War. And Jason, that's a great point. It did end the Second World War, and historians have argued that back and forth through decades, that Truman opened the gates to nuclear warfare. We've not had a nuclear exchange in this world since, because people saw the danger of it. They saw the ugliness of what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the world backed away, and they said, you know, this is not what we want. And even though many countries have nukes, to my knowledge, and I would challenge, I guess it's probably something we can research, but I don't think there's never been a nuke exchange between any nation since. It ended World War II. It's a good statement, and it's a great point. I think tonight can stop the Iranian nuclear program in its tracks, and Iran does not have to destroy itself. It can still have peace with the United States. I think Eric said it best, our hope is in these Iranian people. I pray to God tonight that they see the green light now to take over their government, to make change up top. These mullahs have been weakened. They have got to decide the future of their country. America does not need to decide the future of Iran. Iran needs to decide that future. It can have peace and prosper, or it can continue to do what it's doing and be destroyed. And it's, I know from the Bible, it's not going to be destroyed, because it's got a role to play in the Middle East. It's got a role to play in things to come. It's got a role to play in things to come. Jason Rolnicki, according to Constitution, President Trump has 60 days before he needs to address Congress for a declaration of war. That is true, and Jason, honestly, to me, this was not even a war thing tonight. He didn't declare war. It was an act of national security, and if he sees a threat, he's got every right to do it. I mean, I don't know if people remember or not, Bill Clinton didn't go before Congress in 1998 in the middle of his impeachment scandal with Monica Lewinsky. He lobbed missiles over to Iraq. I didn't hear any of these Democrats screaming about it then. I mean, all that was a diversion to keep the Congress from impeaching a sorry butt for screwing around with Monica Lewinsky. I didn't hear anybody say anything about that then. They always do this when a Republican president does something like this. They did it with Bush. They did it with Trump in Syria. They were screaming this tonight. Let him scream. Let him scream. No impeachment's coming. No impeachment's coming. Trump was well within his constitutional right to do it. And I think that if the CNN people are saying it saved American lives, then you can pretty much be sure Trump's in safe ground. Because CNN would find anything they could tonight to say this was wrong. Even they couldn't find anything wrong with this tonight. But I want to know these 8% people that if you don't think this was justified tonight, please let us know why. Please let us know why. Because I'd like to hear your opinion. I really would. There has been nuclear testing, but we've never had a nuclear exchange between anybody since that war. Jay, thank you so much. This was a clear and a present danger to the United States. It was a clear and present danger to the United States. Cleo says the Iron Dome is a system for short-range missiles and has its limitations. A lot of the hype was to act as a deterrent. It's also very expensive to maintain, so they repair, upgrade interceptors at only high-risk areas, and that is true. And most of the people on Facebook are voting that it was justified tonight. Good to see Corey Aguilar in the house. Good to see you, dear. Jeannie says the fear and concern for retaliation does not succeed the cost of doing nothing. Jeannie, that is so well said. It's good to see you tonight. It does not outweigh the cost of doing nothing. We could not sit around and keep doing nothing, and we did it. Thank you, Greg. Obama launched missiles into Libya back in the March of 2011. Yes, he did. Thank you, Greg. I forgot about that. I knew there was something else I was trying. It was on the top of my head, and he did. He did. And I want to say Bill Clinton did something in Kosovo. During the midnight. I was actually in Uganda, Kenya. I was in Uganda and Kenya when the attacks in the nation of the war broke out with the Serbs, and Clinton got involved in that, and Ethiopia. We had a crisis in Ethiopia, and I was headed back to the States. I was in the airplane when all that stuff took place back in '94. I want to mention this tonight. To Jeannie's point, Bill Clinton's former Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, was on CNN yesterday, or one of his networks, and he said the biggest regret he had as Clinton's Chief of Staff was 1994, when Clinton sat there and looked at him, and they were at a crossroads with what to do with North Korea. Bill Clinton had gotten information that North Korea was enriching uranium, and he chose not to act. He chose not to act. And because he chose not to act, we have a nuclear threat on the Asian continent tonight. Now, these morons over in North Korea have not used one because they can't find anything that works to launch one. But don't think that they don't want to, because they do. But you can thank William Jefferson Clinton for that. And you can thank William Jefferson Clinton in many ways for 9/11, folks. He had bin Laden in his sights, but he didn't want to, in his own words, he said, I did not want to bring him back and try him in an American court. Well, Mr. Clinton, let me explain this to you. Even though you were too busy going to Epstein Island and pedophiling children and dressing in blue dresses to pose for disgusting, perverted pictures, let me explain a little bit to you, neighbor. You don't take criminal terrorists like that and put them in the courts. You put a bullet in their head and you destroy terrorism. You execute the sword, Bill. That's what the Bible calls it. You execute the sword, and they that live by the sword die by the sword. And you don't execute the sword in vain against evildoers, Bill. We went and had 9/11. Bin Laden carried it out. He even said it in his own memoirs. In '98, he had a chance to get him and didn't take it. That was a freebie tonight. That was my first medal of the night. So I've done good tonight. That's my first medal. That is my first medal for that. Greg, good to see you, brother. Email me, McFiles Forum. McFiles Forum. I'd like to talk to you about that. All righty. 93-7 is our final poll. I'm going to wrap this up tonight, folks. We've been going right at an hour and about 15 minutes. And listen, we're grateful that hour and 26 minutes. So I'm done. Listen. We'll be back here in the morning, 10 o'clock Eastern, Sunday morning meeting time. It'll be on all networks. The Sunday night program. Now, one of these programs, I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. We've been talking about the Holy Spirit. We'll definitely talk about the Holy Spirit tomorrow night if we don't do it in the morning. But I feel led that we're going to deal with this prophetic future of Iran and why it's important to us as Christians, because it is important. The next great event on God's calendar is the rapture of the church. And we are living in perilous, dangerous times of the end times. I want to say this again tonight, and I'll explain this more tomorrow. What's going on tonight is prophetic, folks. What's going on tonight is prophetic. It is. But it is not the actual fulfillment of Bible prophecy yet. Yet. It is aligning the world for things to come in Bible prophecy. Be with me in the morning. We're going to talk about that. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Did you enjoy the show tonight? Give a big shout out to James Akers. Give a big shout out to Eric Karen. And you don't have to give a big shout out to your host, but I'm glad I've been with you tonight. I hope this has been informative and encouraged you. Good to see a lot of folks. McFiles Forum. And thank you, Cleo. Bill did not get congressional approval. No, he justified it as humanitarian. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. In Silver Creek, we need to stand for Israel. Yes, we do. Send that to Tucker. He seems to want Bible verses of why we should stand for Israel. That would be a good one to send to him. Jenny, thank you for being with us tonight. Chris Davis says we finally have a president who doesn't play games. He doesn't make excuses and is not a coward. I would just have taken one of those, but you're right, Chris. He's all three, isn't he? God bless you out there tonight. Get some rest. We'll keep you informed of what's going on as much as we can, folks. Be blessed out there tonight. Be safe and pray for your country. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed. Good night.